Terraria is a game I'll always replay even after 15 years of being released. It's just had a real grip on me, and it's not just from nostalgia, but because the game has grown alongside me. As much as I enjoy playing new games, Terraria has always been fun to return to because it's often different from what it was before. Playing Terraria over the years has been like watching the development process live, and it made each new update so easy to explore. Today, Terraria is nearing version 1.4.6, and the game looks nothing like it did when it first released, and there's still no sign of the team slowing down. From collabs with other indie games to tons of new items and content, and quality of life changes you didn't know you needed, Terraria keeps the game fresh and replayable with constant and meaningful updates. Relogic has truly set the perfect example of how a game should evolve over time. Not many games have quite the same update patterns as Terraria, which is no fault to developers as they often focus on new projects or simply have a finished game. But what makes Terraria so satisfying is that it can be constantly updated, and it doesn't change the game entirely. It always feels perfectly in place in the game. For example, the Shimmer, in my opinion, felt like it could have been in the game for a lot longer. It just felt like a natural addition to a mystical game like Terraria, despite being added in late 2022. Personally, there's a lot of games I played for years alongside Terraria, which are the same as when they started, and although these are great games, they could use a lot of modernizing, which would improve the experience. Terraria's updates put a lot of care into the user experience, which makes returning after an update feel very consistent and smooth. In hindsight, version 1.0 released in May of 2011 was clearly an unfinished version of the game, despite it being the first official release. I'd like to think they were just excited to share the passion project they were working on, and the feedback likely encouraged the team a lot. The first large update was 1.1 in December of the same year, which added the Wall of Flesh, a very significant boss, and hard mode, arguably the second half of the game today. Players likely didn't see all of 1.0's content before 1.1 was released, giving us all more content than we could consume at once. They also in the same month released a Christmas update, which gave us the Snow Biome and the Frost Legion, which shows again how much passion they have for working on this game even around the holidays. 2 years later, 1.2 was released, and it had 2 times as much content as 1.1, adding a new final boss, the Golem, the minimap, the Crimson, and so much more. Again, adding content that feels crucial to the game today, and it's surprising that it wasn't there from the start. Plus, in the months following 1.2, they added the holiday updates like the Halloween update with the Pumpkin Moon, and the second Christmas update with the Frost Moon. A few months after that, the Traveling Merchant and the Stylus were added, and a few after that, we had the Fishing and Mine Carts and Duke Fishron. It's clear the team had so many ideas for the game that they just couldn't help but continue updating. And that was proven. A year after that, we had version 1.3, the third major update to Terraria, bringing along achievements, expert mode, the underground desert, and the final boss of the game, the Moonlord, changing the endgame completely once again, and it continued the pattern of adding a new ending for the game, like in 1.1 and 1.2. And it was the last, as the Moonlord is still the final boss today. By 1.3, the game was starting to look like a finished product. I mean, what more could they add? Added 4 years after initial release, the Moonlord is still the largest boss in the game, and it really feels like the end when you defeat him. The Golem as the final boss was underwhelming, but the Moonlord and the Lunar events are super unique and make for a dramatic endgame. Honestly, when I first heard about the Moonlord, I thought I missed him the first time I played, because I had played before 1.3, but it really fits in the game. I mean, you fight the Eye of Cthulhu early on, and also the Brain. It just makes sense. Overall, these three updates form the main structure of the Terraria we know today, from hard mode to the Moonlord. Without all this extra content, Terraria would probably have less players today. Another thing I want to commend Relogic for is giving all this new content for free. I mean, it's never in the form of a DLC or a second game, so for those who brought Terraria a version 1.0, they've gotten years of free content. Not to mention the Dungeon Defenders 2 update in 2016, which added the old one's army. That one really came out of nowhere, and I think collabs between games are a sign of a strong gaming community. It really allows games to complement each other rather than compete with each other. It just fosters more love for each game on both ends and gives more content to each community. At this point in development, it really seemed like the game couldn't go much further. The ending looked complete, and besides a few touch-ups here and there, what more could they do? Which is what made their next large update so huge for Relogic. Journey's End was huge. After 4 years of minimal updates, other than console ports to Xbox or Switch, version 1.4 was released on the 9th year anniversary of Terraria, making it a very special update. In May of 2020, Journey's End added Master Mode, a harder version of the game, new hard mode bosses, a new desert feature, a furry NPC, and golf? It was clearly a fun update for the team to just work on this game out of pure passion, but it was also made clear that it was their last update to Terraria. On the official Terraria forums, Relogic had made it clear that Journey's End was the last major update to Terraria besides bug fixes. After such consistent updates over the years since release, it was surprising, but bittersweet because the team deserves to rest or work on other projects after doing such a good job of Terraria for so long. Which they actually mentioned in the FAQ, working on a second title, but Terraria is still their only game to this day. Which isn't a bad thing, branching out isn't necessary. I think their love for Terraria, which made them continue work on the project, has created a masterpiece of a game, which evolved with the times and remained timeless as well. Although it felt like the proper end, they couldn't get enough of the game. And I'm glad they couldn't, because I can't either. A few months after the Journey's End update, there were tons of fixes and a few quality of life updates which were unexpected, such as the Torch God being added. And a few months after that, the Princess NPC was added, along with some other vanity brought in from a contest where players submitted vanity ideas, in an update called Rounding Out the Journey. So it seemed like after a bit of extra content, Journey's End was really the end. But Relogic never runs out of content ideas. Although there hasn't been a 1.5 or a 5th major update to go along with the others, Journey's End certainly wasn't the end of additions to Terraria. A year after Journey's End, we had the Don't Starve Together crossover, the second collab in the game, which added a whole new boss, and one more year after that we had Labor of Love. Labor of Love was clearly Relogic showing their continuous love to the community, and it was branded as an update focusing mainly on bug fixes and quality of life, but it also included tons of new items and features. The town slimes, Shimmer like I mentioned earlier, and over 300 new items. The Shimmer, like the Torch God, is quality of life that blends in with the world, transforming items into their counterparts and adding to the game while remaining disguised in the lore of the world. 4 years after Labor of Love, in the beginning of 2026, Bigger and Bolder shocked us again with 2 new crossovers with other games, Dead Cells and Palworld, adding tons more new content, making the game different to return to once again. All in all, if every game team updated their games like Relogic does, I feel like a lot more games would be highly respected and have more players. It shows that they care for the people who bought their game and put time into it and provide feedback, and it makes the community more likely to interact and grow. Not to mention their endless support for community mods with Team Modloader, which hasn't been done by every game team. I truly cannot wait to see what Terraria has in store for us in the future, as I think their motivation and passion for this game will never run out. Well, that's all I wanted to talk about, and if you enjoyed the video, let me know and subscribe if you'd like to hear me talk about more video games. See ya!